The first to adapt the TCR model, okay, which is now a global model and part of the TCE category here, the TCE endurance category with TCX. And so they were the first ones to gravitate to that and get that as a category. That's now global. So what they've done is that if you have a car in any of the GT4, GT3, 911, 991, 992 category, or a TCR car, anywhere on the planet, you can race in a Creventic race. Seeing now how that has evolved into what it is, Creventic now being a global motorsports company, just behind WEC and IMSA in GT racing, and with their racing all over the planet, they have multiple champions.
Good morning, everybody. A warm welcome to Spa-Francorchamps for day 2 of this event run by Creventic, the Dutch promoter. And of course, the main headline event for the weekend is yet another edition of the Michelin 12 hours of Spa, spread over 2 days, and we have 5.5 hours of that endurance race to look forward to today before the cars are parked up at 5 o'clock tonight into Parc Fermé conditions, and then we restart tomorrow. But we've had some tremendous action in support of that race from the Radical Cup Europe, including a race yesterday following their 2 separate qualifying sessions of 20 minutes each. A different grid from the second qualifying session yesterday. I mean, look at Spa this weekend. To be honest, I'm not really that used to this because the Ardennes Forest is famous for having its own microclimate. There's been a little bit of rain overnight, but the paddock area is bathed in sunshine. And we have an air temperature of just under 12 degrees Celsius. A goodly portion of fans have headed mainly towards the top of Radial as well for the opening lap of this second race of the weekend for the Radicals. And if you weren't around yesterday afternoon to witness the first race, well, there's always the archive because it's on YouTube kind of forever to go and re-watch round 3 of the 2026 Radical Cup Europe. But well, if you don't want to know the result, look away from your screens now because this is a big spoiler. But Sebastian Schou and Morten Stromstedt in the combined car, they were sharing a car yesterday, as they will be today, and they ended up the winners. We did have a pretty lengthy mid-race safety car which condensed the field and meant that we were only then racing to the checkered flag for about 15 minutes or so. Luke Kendall had a good run to second place. He might have won it had he not had a big crash at the start of the race, which also involved Peter Padden. Padden admitted afterwards that he had no brakes at all going into La Source on the opening lap and piled into the back of Luke Kendall, resulting in both cars spinning. Luke was able to continue, though, to second position. Chris Preen was third, John McLeod fourth, and Jack Yang in fifth. And everyone paying close attention to where the championship leader Marcus Littlewood finished. Well, that was in 6th position after the disqualification of Andy Lowe's car. The number 4 machine was found to be running some ineligible tyres, non-conformity tyres, which is a breach of Article 4.12, and that means a full disqualification. Basically, he failed to comply with the declared Hankook tyres. So you say to the officials, we're going to be using this set, and if after the race they discover a tyre that you didn't say you were going to be used in the race, then that results in a disqualification. So sadly for Andy Lowe, who was quite up there, he was in the top 5, but on the road under the checkered flag, that is a result as a non-finish and a DSQ. But we look ahead at a new grid, as I say, and there is one car in this field which is different from the rest, as in it is a Radical SR10, with significantly more horsepower, 425 horsepower, but it also weighs quite a bit more as well. So that SR10, there's number 26, by the way, off the road, and that is the guest driver for this weekend, Luke Breukers, who is very busy with his commitment to the 12-hour race this weekend as well, with the Breukers family in their Red Camel Jordan Snell Porsche. Car 26 having had a spin out on the wet grass, and this is, of course, just the release lap from the assembly area. Thankfully, Luke's not hit anything, though, and therefore, rather red-faced, he leaves that scene just between Les Combes and Bruxelles on the approach down towards turn number 8. So lots of weaving of the tyres, and all of a sudden, now, did he hit the barrier? Oh, I beg your pardon, he did. He just tagged it very slightly with the rear right. That is very easily done on cold tyres, as you're erratically steering left to right to build the tyre temperature, particularly in the sidewall. And it's so easy on a cold road surface as well to lose the rear of the car, and he's clanged the barrier very slightly, just peering at the back of that number 26 Radical to see whether there's any lasting damage. He might just have got away with that, due to start from 11th position. They will have a proper rolling lap in a moment or two as well. But yeah, as I was talking about, the SR10 car, more power, heavier car, but is absolutely blistering, particularly when Philip Svensson is at the wheel, the Swedish driver. And the team rather think that it will set off for the distance in the opening stint, and that is in the opening stint when Philip Svensson is at the wheel, but also particularly the first and the third sectors, which rely on straight line speed and aren't concerned too much about downforce and therefore the weight of the car. But the SR3s are much more nimble and do rather favour that middle sector, so they could catch up the number 9 car through the twisty bits of this Spa circuit. That's another fabulous thing about this 7-kilometre racetrack in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium, is that it's split into 3 sectors. The first 2 is where you need to be trimmed out and to travel through the air as freely as possible, but you totally need some downforce and some cornering ability from Les Combes all the way around to the old Stavelot. So it is definitely a balance of setup that has to be thought about prior to the race weekend. A lock-up again, possibly for Luke Breukers, and he's now, I think, back in his rightful position. They're all just heading towards the grid then for the build-up to this race properly. We can detail a bit more about what went on yesterday in just a second. I'll also be joined by Simon Hill to take you through the race. But we have Sarah Esser down on the grid. Good morning, Sarah. Hoping to catch up with a few drivers before we get going.
Good morning, Johnny. It's sunny out here this morning. Grid is getting set up. I've just managed to catch Luke Kendall. Luke, you were looking quick yesterday. An unfortunate start at the beginning, but you managed to have a really good recovery drive. Looking to this morning, I guess, trying to keep clean out of turn 1.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to keep it clean this morning, see if we can get a good start, see if we can make it happen today, see if we can make it better than yesterday.
You were looking very quick. Commentators, I think, are saying you're one of their, they think you've got a really positive start. What have you been doing ahead of the race? We didn't see you in Mugello.
Yeah, so I was racing last weekend in Sonoma in California. Some testing the week before that. I've been in the car for a while, out of town, so yeah, some good prepping.
Well, good luck this morning. Hopefully a better start through turn 1. Let's see who else we can find further down the grid. We can go to our pole sitter just behind us here. Oh, they're in a slightly different setup. Is this Philip Svensson currently in the car?
Sorry.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, pretty nice view from here in pole position. So, yeah, just going to try to make the most of it. It's going to be quite tricky on the first lap, I think, with the SR10 obviously being quicker in Sector 1 and Sector 3. But, yeah, I think Sector 2 is going to be quite hectic in the rear wing.
Different spec car to the rest of the grid. Tell us what that feels like around the track in terms of having a heavier car in certain sectors.
Yeah, so the SR10 is a bit more powerful engine, but on hindsight it's a bit heavier as well. So straight line speed is higher, but cornering a bit tougher.
Well, good luck this morning. Bit of an active start yesterday in turn 1. Hopefully it's nice and clean this morning. Let's see who else we can find further down the grid. Be quite speak to Marcus. He's just pulled up. He had a win out in Mugello. See if he will have a word with us. Class pole for Marcus. Marcus, you up for a little bit of a chat? Great race out in Mugello. Yesterday was a little bit tricky, but you're in a good position for this morning.
So I couldn't hear that, sorry.
I said you had a great start out in Mugello for the series. You're in a much better position yesterday. It was a bit tricky yesterday in the race. You got caught out in the mid-pack.
Yeah, it's, obviously I expected to not have the best of results because of the success penalty, but yeah, tried to make the most of the start, and obviously that got sort of ruined by the safety car, but it is what it is, one of those things, and just go and try our best today.
Part of racing, hey? Well, good luck today, Marcus. Now I'm going to hand back to you, Johnny. We're getting cleared off the grid.
Yeah, the whole ethos behind tempering what Marcus Littlewood can do in the race is to try and keep things equal, because the danger is Marcus is that good, he might just start winning race after race after race, and we then don't get an interesting battle for the championship. So he gets a handicap penalty anyway of 20 seconds, but if you start consistently finishing on the podium, then you'll get success penalties going into the following races as well. So actually he's been stripped of any success penalty this time around, gets an 80-second stationary time difference, or I keep calling it a penalty. It's not strictly labelled as such within the regulations, but there is a minimum pit stop reference time, and rather than it being 100 seconds yesterday, he's had 20 seconds trimmed out of that. It still stands at 80, which is equal to the longest amount of time that anyone's got to be in the pit lane for. And from pit in to pit out, therefore, Marcus can't be any quicker than 1 minute and 54 seconds. The green flag is waving now. Away goes the pole sitter, Philip Svensson, in his different car from everybody else. So the SR10 Radical, which has got more power but is a heavier car, and visually different as well from the SR3. Philip Svensson on pole position, having set a 2:20.9 in yesterday's second qualifying session. But then we've got the championship leader, Marcus Littlewood, having done a 2:24.2, and that was about 8 tenths faster than Luke Kendall's time, number 54. He starts on the second row, but second of the SR3s. Then Jack Yang in the number 21 car as they flood out of La Source, down through Eau Rouge, and up through Radion. So here's the grid in full. There's the SR10 that is shared with Peter Gustafsson. So Peter will take over that car during the pit stop. Marcus Littlewood, who came here with a 77-point lead ahead of yesterday's race, starts alongside him in second position. And then from Marcus's car all the way back, they are all the SR3 XXR Radical. So Luke Kendall on the inside of the second row, number 54, is joined by Jack Yang, number 21. Then we got Peter Padden's repaired car. After that car suffered quite a bit of damage to the nose, he declared to Sarah didn't have any brakes going into La Source yesterday and piled into the back of Luke Kendall's car, but that's all been repaired at GWR now, Garth Walden Racing. And Christopher Preen is alongside in the number 5 car, starting in 6th. Row 4 is Lowen Stevens, who again is in a slightly false position there, so I think Lowen might have a better race today, we hope so. Andrew Lowe was disqualified from yesterday's race for using the wrong tyres that he declared at the start of it, so he starts from 8th place and is unaffected by yesterday's penalty in this grid and this race. Erland Olsen from Radical Norway in the 911 starts 9th alongside Sebastian Cho, yesterday's winner, along with his teammate. Luke Broikers, a spin on the out lap, the installation lap, but the 26 car will start from 11th position, and John McLeod alongside. Then it's Emir Faisalen, who has a St Kitts and Nevis national flag next to his name for this weekend. Jahid Farzal Kareem is next. Then it's Brian Huang and Robin Greenhall. Steve Champion, another car from the GWR RSR combination. Sean Hanna, his teammate, is alongside, 34 and 82 on the 9th row. Radical Netherlands, Eddie Van Dam in obviously a very orange car, he being Dutch, number 33 starts 19th. Valerie Bachmann in the husband and wife driving duo. Valerie starts the 17 car RJ Motorsport from 20th position, and finally Jess Franson is at the rear. Now you might be asking, where is Diego Dambra? in his originally entered car, which is number 44. Well, they had problems with that car, so instead Diego Dambra is going to step across and join Jess Franson in the 55 team race streaming car, and they will do a stint each, whereas they had planned initially to do each of these races solo. So it's nice that Jess Franson has allowed Diego to be the co-driver this weekend. A very good morning to Simon Hill, by the way. We had an exciting race yesterday, although we were denied quite a bit of racing laps because of the safety car right in the middle of it. And the challenge was on them because I think it was only about 15 minutes of racing action to the checkered flag. I'm really hoping this remains as green for as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be very interesting to see what Marcus Littlewood can do, because we saw with that penalty that he had yesterday, or not the penalty, but the pit stop length that he had, it really did affect him. So going to be interesting to see what they do as they come to the line to start.
So it's a 50-minute race, and we're going to have a pit stop after 20 minutes. And you've got to make your stop as everyone darts to the inside, two wheels on the grass, and there's been a clash already with cars spinning left, right and centre, one backwards up against the wall. And is that again Peter Padden, who was involved in the crash yesterday, number 14, so it's not Peter. Number 14, I'm ferreting around for John McLeod. There we go. John McLeod carrying big damage. Meanwhile, the SR10 disappearing up the road as we expected it might do for the first sector of this opening lap. But John McLeod has been sorting his preparation all morning, and now all of a sudden he's out of the race, much like Peter Padden, who I do hope has survived today in car number 31. Yeah, that's Peter with the new nose, the carbon fibre nose to his Radical SR3. But absolute chaos again, even before we got to the turning point at La Source, Simon.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see exactly how that unfolded, because obviously one of the cars got turned around fairly early in the braking zone, which would suggest that somebody maybe had moved across and they just sort of fell over each other, for want of a better term. Just such a shame, because obviously everybody loves racing this circuit. Everyone we've heard being interviewed by Sarah in the last couple of days has just been waxing lyrical about driving one of these wonderful little sports cars around this fantastic circuit. And yeah, just such a shame for the driver involved in that. And you could almost see the body language, couldn't you see, of John McDonald's got the car. Oh, for goodness sake. I'm sure there was probably slightly stronger language than that.
I'm going to suggest there was. We're straight into a safety car. I was wondering how they're going to deal with this, but with McLeod's car in the firing line, if anybody outbrake themselves into La Source, there is a circuit vehicle with him, but everyone getting the notice now that the SC boards are out around the track, and they're also the physical boards, the wooden boards, but also now the modern way of doing it is with the LED screens that are all around this Grade 1 Grand Prix circuit. So the message sent out very quickly. The natural thing in an unrestricted race would be, if I've got to do a pit stop, well, let's do it now under a safety car. But you can't do that until 20 minutes into the race, and you get a 10-minute window. But what we did find out yesterday is even if the track is under full course yellow or a safety car, the pit lane will remain open. We just got to get to that 20-minute marker.
Yeah, and yesterday we could see that there was obviously a little bit of a thought process going on with the drivers that were on circuit. You can see some frantic gesturing going on from the 55 car there of the team race stripping cars. I think what he's basically trying to say is, folks, get on with it. Get onto the back of the rest of the queue. And I know from speaking to other drivers, and certainly when I once upon a time was a racing driver, one of the most frustrating things ever is if you're in a safety car situation and the driver's immediately in front of you. Obviously you can't overtake under the safety car, we all know that. Yeah. The drivers immediately in front of you are dithering, actually dithering about. I think actually there's another D word that I would say that perhaps is what
I'd leave that. It's my advice, yeah.
Dithering
but
about,
I think we know what you mean.
Phrase. And it's just so incredibly frustrating, because you know that you've got great opportunity to be on the back of the pack and really have a proper go, and then ultimately, you know, look at it. This is what we're talking about. Look at the gap there between the main pack and these cars here. I'm just trying to work out who that might be. I think 77 there. So that's Jahid Fazel Karim
It was Jess Franson who was gesticulating the most. This is what happened there at the start of the race. With the 911 car going for a gap in between, and that was Erland Olsen. I think he got a very good start, actually. So he's tried to thread the eye of the needle, then gets a biff side to side with John McLeod's car, which spears Olsen into the wall. And amazing, well, no, there was then a secondary problem as Olsen's car, having gone down the concrete wall to driver's right, then re-entered the track, and everyone's got to react to it. We had a further spinner there who could well have been Sean Hanna, who has pitted at the end of the lap. So McLeod is out of the race. Erland Olsen is out of the race in the number 911 Radical Norway car. That was the one backwards and up against the concrete wall. Sean Hanna in number 82 has done a lap but then had to pit, presumably with too much damage. The other one heavily delayed, number 77, is Jahid Fazal Kareem, who was 14th on the grid and has come around at the end of the first lap behind the safety car in 18th. So all manner of things happening there. There was an initial incident, Olsen getting a good start but then not finding the space, contact, and then the further problem was when Olsen came back onto the track and everyone had to avoid him.
Yeah, exactly. You see the 82 car in the pit lane there, just coming back out. It's just so frustrating, isn't it, when things like that happen. You look at it and you try, that Sean Hanna that we were talking about, you were talking about there, Johnny. He's had a tough weekend. He had some issues in qualifying as well, and it's just been one of those weekends. It's just nothing's really flowed for him, which is a real shame. But Erland Olsen that you mentioned there came into this race third in the championship, 15 points behind the championship leader Marcus Littlewood, and really a real shame for him because obviously Marcus is still running right at the sharp end of the championship contenders. He's there. He's obviously the championship leader in the class, and you would expect if he has a clean run and the pit stop doesn't hurt him, the pit stop penalty doesn't hurt him too much, that he would continue to be somewhere in the mix near the front. He did a great job yesterday as well, coming out quite a long way back after the stop to get himself back up to, I think, 7th in the end, if I remember correctly.
Well, there was then a disqualification, unfortunately, for the number 4 of Andy Lowe, because he was found to be using the tyres that he hadn't declared at the start of the race. So they took Andy Lowe out of the result, and that gave Marcus Littlewood 6th place rather than 7th, as we thought he'd finished on the road. So slight increase in points.
Safety car lights off now, Johnny. So hopefully we're going to go racing now.
Yeah, but what it's denied is the leading driver, Philip Svensson, any opportunity to use the advantage, the massive advantage that this SR10 has got over everybody else. He did exactly as we expected and started to romp away to something like a 5-6 second lead, and kind of did that at the end of the first sector on the opening lap, but then the safety car came out before the first lap was completed. This is obviously eating significantly into race time as well. There's no safety car even in the frame there. It has disappeared into the pit lane and now dictating the pace, as he should be. He can choose whatever speed to go at, really, Philip Svensson. And then he decides when to hit the loud pedal, and hopefully will catch everybody napping in the process. So now I'm sure he's accelerating, moving through the gears in the Vortex Performance prepared Radical SR10, and over the line already with a 1.4 second lead over Marcus Littlewood and Luke Kendall, both of whom I think are concerned about tyre temperature still, because they were doing a bit of weaving on the short start-finish straight between turn 19 and La Source, and that time slight bit of tyre smoke, again because of coolish tyres from the green and white car, which may well have been Robin Greenhall. And it was behind Robin Greenhall, behind the safety car, that massive gap had occurred. Eddie Van Dam, for some reason, wasn't picking up the pace and staying within something like 5 car lengths is normally the advice behind a safety car. How about this for a fight, though, further back? Ignored the SR10, that's in a class of its own. But Littlewood was under pressure from Kendall, and Kendall, in turn, has got Peter Padden. And we don't really know how Peter Padden's going to go today because he crashed the first corner yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And, he looked very strong. And certainly, you could tell that he was confident the car was working well. I think when he was interviewed by Sarah immediately after retiring, he was like, the car was absolutely mega on the outlap. And obviously, you can't tell 100% until you're properly at racing speed, but at least you've got a fairly good feel. Most good racing drivers, within a few corners, are like, mega. The car's doing what I want it to do. That's exactly what he was saying. So let's hope for his sake that it's a long journey that he's made here to Spa-Francorchamps from Australia. Let's hope he has a really smooth and safe race. And let's be honest, he's in with a really good shout of a podium today. So that would be a fantastic thing after a very tough day yesterday, which was clearly one of those, disappointing things that just happen sometimes with cars.
Well, it's a brilliant initiative to get at least 3 Australian drivers over. I think it is just the 3. So Padden, who's running in 4th position, but 3rd of the SR3. Steve Champion, and then unfortunately Sean Hanna, who's already had a visit to the pit lane, so is significantly further down. But there's nothing to say that that Sean Hanna can't improve over the next 40 odd so minutes and get closer to the top 10. Andy Lowe, in the orange number 4 car, isn't able to match Sebastian Cho's speed in this opening stint, and Lowe is not sharing. So he will stay in the car. Now off the road in the gravel is car number 10, possibly. Yes, it is. It's Robin Greenhall. That's the right livery for Robin, the man from Switzerland. And that has happened coming out of Le Fagnes corner, so just before the right-hander at Campus, with the college on the inside of that bend down at turn 15. Very easy to lose the rear of that car, and the problem is the gravel is just the other side of the curb, and I think also he may have ended up just planting the rear of the car slightly into the tyres. So we're back under caution again, not a safety car this time, but instead a full course yellow. That's an easy mistake to make, although there may have been another car involved. Yeah,
we saw quite a few of the 24H drivers in the GTs having moments there. The ARC Bratislava Lambo specifically springs to mind, that it had a massive slide and scuffed the wall and somehow managed to get out of it without any real significant damage other than a little bit of bodywork damage, and got back out for the next part of the session. So good news. Looks like they're being able to get the 10 car back on circuit, and hopefully he'll at least be able to get it back to the pits.
Just carrying some damage on the front left corner as well, isn't it? So maybe it went in forwards
he's
first.
Thinking let's just get it back to the pits and then get the crew to have a look at it and see whether he can continue or not. And they may have a spare nose section, for example, that if it's just that, then perhaps he got away with it relatively lightly. But I would imagine he's probably had a fairly significant Code Brown moment there, I would suggest.
The rest of the drivers in this race will be rather grateful that he doesn't sit on the racing line and spew all that gravel right in their path for the restart lap, of course. He's brought quite a bit of turf on as well, because the splitter, no longer sitting correctly on the car, was digging into the grass and bringing mud and bits of debris on with it. So sensibly he's trying to stay off the racing line now through curve Paul Frere. And with Blanchimont in the distance, you kind of want the track to be as clear of debris as possible, and you are solely reliant on the science of the Hankook tyre sticking to the surface. They do have quite a bit of downforce capability, even the smaller SR3 radicals, and he is thankfully doing the right thing in staying well over to the right where there is no gravel at Blanchimont, so he can, well, until you get a bit further around the corner. Yeah, there's that little bit between the racetrack itself and the gravel bed. The SR3 XXR, as I mentioned, 230 odd horsepower, only weighs 620 kilos, and it's powered by a 1500cc RPE engine, so developed by Radical themselves, meaning that it's the world's best-selling purpose-built race car, according to Radical at least, and so selling over 1,800 SR3 models since its launch, well, over 20 years ago in 2002. We are back to racing again, so now that the hazard down at Le Fagnes was self-clearing with a bit of help from the marshals, thankfully Robin's got the car back to the pit lane, and that's the beauty of a safety car. We don't have to wait for the leader to get back to the start-finish line. We can just withdraw the full course yellow, and we're back to racing speed again. Good news for Philip Svensson, who continues to lead in the SR10, which is somewhat dominant in sectors 1 and 3. The other thing I'm noticing is Marcus Littlewood has got his head down. He got a much better run out of the full course yellow, it looks like, compared to Luke Kendall, who's been left fighting for second position in SR3, third on the road. Peter Padden, Sebastian Cho, yesterday's winner, they're all looking a threat in the early stages.
Yeah, and Littlewood immediately has, let's have a little look, at just over a second gap between himself and Luke Kendall. And those two were, certainly in this category, they were definitely the quickest two guys on track yesterday. So there's no doubt that you would expect them to be right in the mix throughout the day today, throughout the race today rather. But already under a little bit of pressure from Peter Padden, we surmised, or you surmised, that we don't really know how well he's going to go, and the answer, I think, at the moment seems to be pretty well.
Yeah,
he's looking like he's really got the car working well. As we saw, Robin Greenhall is the crew doing their best to sort of see what they can do to whether they can get him back out again. It doesn't look great, does it? Let's be honest. I think there's certain situations where the team will go, yeah, we probably could get you back out, but let's be honest, is it really worth it? You're going to be 5 laps down or whatever it is, and the car's clearly not going to be doing what it needs to do.
That's the thing. Even though we talk about Spa being a long lap, when you've got a damaged car and you're trying to get it back into the race as quickly as possible, you can lose 2.5 minutes very quickly indeed. And I mean, he was losing time at hand over fist anyway because of where he was stranded in the gravel. Lost the best part of a lap, despite everyone heading around at 60 kilometres per hour under the full course yellow. That's the scene where Robin Greenhall left the road in the gravel bed, and here is the fight for 7th, 8th and 9th places. So Andy Lowe has lost a spot to Chris Preen for Valor Racing. Preen now up to 6th, and Lowe under pressure from the yellow and black car of Lowe and Stevens, and Jack Yang's right behind as well. And I think these two actually look again quicker than Andy Lowe, who's been suffering for some reason just for basic speed. You know, the 360 competition car is beautifully prepared, but it just doesn't seem to be on an even keel with those around it.
Yeah, it looked pretty strong in qualifying, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Got a single lap pace was really good, but pretty much from the beginning of the race yesterday, looked like he was struggling a bit for pace. So, yeah, I'm really surprised. He's a very, very quick driver, is Andy. So there's no doubt that he can get the most out of the car. So just maybe that they took a bit of a gamble on setup, and as we know, sometimes with setup it doesn't quite work the way you expect once you get into a race conditions. The track's evolving, as it always does. Obviously we've now had some testing with the GT3 cars, the GT4 cars, all the other classes in the 24H category, as well as TCR that are racing here this weekend, and so there's a little bit more rubber's gone down. That excuse me, that may well be a factor as well in how the cars work. True. So it could be that the team have taken a little bit of a punt on setup or tyre pressures maybe, and whether it's worked the way they expected or not seems to be a little bit, not really quite sure how that's kind of played out. But looking at the scrap at the front, Svensson, as you quite rightly said, is obviously up the road and gone quite literally in a class of his own. Yes. He's the only driver in that category. But everybody else, looking at Littlewood, Kendall, Padden and Shell, they're just, fairly equidistant lap times wise. They have a little look at what they're doing. Fastest lap is a 2:23.4 for Philip Svensson in the SR10. But in the XXR category, looking at that, the quickest driver currently is Marcus Littlewood in second place, 2:25.8, and then a 2:26.5 for the third place driver of Luke Kendall.
Now, one car in the pit lane, and Sarah's headed towards Robin Greenhall to find out, well, we kind of know what the problem is, Sarah. Heavily damaged car, but how did he end up there?
Oh, hang on. I don't think I can grab a word with him now because the car's just come back down. Oh, no, he's jumping out the car. So it looks like it won't be going back out. They tried their absolute hardest to put the cable ties on. They're pulling gravel out from every single crevice I can see. And there's damage to both the front and rear. The rear left brake light they have pulled out. He's jumping out the car now, so let's see if we can... he's got a very jazzy race suit on. See if I can grab a chat with him. Sorry, Robin. Not the best time to catch you, I guess. Very disappointing end to the race.
Yes, well, yesterday was fabulous, so I guess I was a little bit overconfident today, and I got held up at the start because of... Oh, sorry, should I take this off?
Yeah, go on, you take that off. It might be a little bit easier, although we can hear you very clearly.
I'm sorry. I got held up at the start because of the crash, so that dropped me back. And then at the restart, I thought I'd put it down into second, but I was in third, so I got overtaken by my teammate, and then I got him back because I'm a little bit quicker than he is. And then I thought I'll catch the car that had sort of built a gap because I got the wrong gear, and I just pushed it a little bit too hard, went on the curb, back-stepped out and...
For a moment there, it looked like the mechanics were going to get the car back out. They were patching it up. They had some cable ties and...
But apparently there's something, the wishbone at the back was bent, and so, yeah, disappointing end to what was very... Sorry. Oh, that feels better. To a good start to the weekend. I've never been as quick around Spa as yesterday, and I just guess I got overconfident, which is a real...
Will we see you back in Paul Ricard?
No, unfortunately not. I have 5, my son's getting married, and I have 5 other nephews and nieces that have all decided to get married this year, so we have no free weekends until November or something crazy.
Well, thank you so much, Robin. I've got to jump back to the broadcast because there's a lot going on track, but thank you for having a word.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff at La Source, which has resulted in Jack Young being left in the gravel trap. That was side-by-side action, and then he spun. We've gone full course yellow again, so... no hope of getting out of there. It all stemmed from some confusion coming out of the bus stop chicane. Andy Lowe in the orange car in the middle. Then Luke Breukers level with Jack Young. Young across the nose of Andy Lowe. Here's Lowe and Stevens in the foreground as well. So Young late on the brakes to try and get the place from Luke Breukers. And I think the clash came between Andy Lowe's car and Young, who spat one side across the track, then swings. The momentum takes him back into the gravel, and you're never going to get out of there. However, it wasn't done then, because Andy Lowe and Luke Breukers exchanging paint on the run into Eau Rouge, on the run out of Eau Rouge, and they were still side by side heading onto the Kemmel. Yeah, what a great bit of racing. Poor Jack, though, that was really unfortunate for him. He just got tangled up. You can see the big scuff on the side of the car. You know, and he was very strong yesterday and today, to be fair. So, you know, a real shame for him, because you know, the 21 car being run by Valor Racing was clearly doing a good job. But that little battle between the two guys was pretty exciting. Wasn't it? Luke Breukers, busy boy this weekend, isn't he? He's got that going on, as well as racing in the family 992 as well. And he's having to remember which car he's in at any one point as well, because I imagine this behaves nothing like a Porsche Cup car. Exactly, and on top of that, he's part of the Creventic organisation as well, so he's kind of got his day job plus his racing and everything. Exactly. So yeah, spinning lots of plates. We're under another safety car, by the way. Now this is going to make the pit stops interesting, because the pit lane should be open at this point. Yes, so 20 minutes in, pit window open. Philip Svensson's not going to pit at the end of lap number 7. But again, the advantage that the SR10 has been completely wiped, because the second place car on the road and the leader in SR3 will be back with Philip Svensson once more. We haven't had any callers so far, so they're maybe thinking better to just take the road position for the time being and pit next time around. But of course, the actual pit times, the lap times, are going to be increased to 4 or 5 minutes. So you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 or 3 opportunities to actually stop within this 10-minute pit stop window. Don't want to be leaving it too late. And I would imagine it's set to get very, very busy down where Sarah is the next time around for these leaders, because we could well have all of the cars that are bunched up behind the safety car in together. Radical have taken up some of the garages this weekend. They certainly don't have one garage each. I think I saw as many as something like 6 cars all parked up in the garages close to the pit-in end of the pit lane. But with the 24 H Series cars in the majority of the other Formula 1 garages, and that is generally 1 car per garage, there is space for the Radicals to not have to be based within the paddock area here at Spa. Instead, for the most part of the weekend, they are in the pit lane proper, which is a nice little treat for them. So Marcus Littlewood leading SR3 from Luke Kendall and Peter Padden, then Sebastian Schou. He's the quicker of the 2 drivers in number 38, so I'd expect Morten Stromsted as the bronze, whereas Sebastian Schou's the silver, to not carry as much lap speed as his teammate. Chris Preen, who finished 3rd yesterday, has got a bit of work to do to equal that result on Saturday, running in 6th place right now. Ahead of Lowe and Stevens, Andy Lowe, Luke Breukers after that side-by-side battle where Luke eventually had to yield, it appears, because Andy's back in front of him now, and Amir Faisalin for North Motorsport running in 10th position in car 15. But I can imagine a scenario here, Simon, where everybody comes in at the end of the lap and the safety car, just like yesterday, is left with nobody behind it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? We literally just saw this empty track. The safety car drivers probably thinking, where's everyone gone? What's going on here? But yeah, exactly that. Tactically, you would suggest that's probably going to be the most sensible thing for most of these drivers to do. So let's watch and see with interest. And as you quite rightly said, some of the drivers in the cars at the moment, there's not that many that have got two drivers sharing the car, but of those that are, certainly Svensson and Schauer, the quicker of the two drivers that are sharing those respective cars.
Yeah.
So obviously that's going to be a real key factor for once they've made the driver change as to what sort of pace the replacement driver or the second driver has got.
And we do have an additional shared car today that we didn't have yesterday because Diego Dambra had big car problems with the number 44, so he's joining Jess Franson now in a shared drive, whereas they were in individual cars for race 3. And Diego Dambra, although he was quick in Mugello, again was either caught up in incidents. Now is the safety car coming down pit lane? It is. So we're going to restart the race again, just at the point where everybody potentially needs to pit. They got 4 and a bit minutes, so let's just wait and see who decides to pit on this particular lap. Svensson's going to stay out, and actually Littlewood and Kendall are going to stay out. There were 3 or 4 in the background, though, that were peeling off. So the first of the highest placed cars, Peter Padden, comes into pit lane to do his mandatory stop, joined by Chris Preen, Luke Breukers, Brian Huang, Jahid Fazal Karim and a few others as well. But it leaves Svensson out on the track to again build the gap to Marcus Littlewood and Luke Kendall. And Kendall is right with Marcus Littlewood right now then. Is there a chance to get the slipstream? Maybe more likely to be done on the Kemmel straight as the 54 car snakes its way through Eau Rouge and Radiant. No way by there, so we can head for a quick update with Sarah.
Well, I did have Diego Dambra, but the car's arrived, so he is jumping in. He said there was a problem with the engine, although I didn't get the full detail because he was going to tell us that on air. So he's jumping in now with Franson. You'll be able to see that further up the pit lane. We've got quite a few coming in. Jahid Karim is here in front of me. And moving on further, we can see the change in the husband and wife team, I believe, of the Bachmans. So that looks like Valerie's out, Pascal is in. And I did have Morten Stromstedt here, but I think he's got in. I'm trying to find Sebastian Schou. He is the faster driver of that pairing, but he started the race today. He finished it yesterday, and they were obviously the winners from the race yesterday. But when I find Sebastian Schou, I'll let you know and we can have a quick chat.
Yeah, good to get some reaction from his victory yesterday, which I'm not necessarily sure he was expecting to have. Everybody goes into a motor race wanting to win it, but you've got to be realistic. But yeah, that's a very nice result for the team that run the number 38 car, who are Step Motorsport. So the pit stops for the middle order happening. Are we close to time? No, not too bad. 2 minutes and 45 seconds remain of the pit stop window being open. So there is a chance to pit at the end of this lap, but I wouldn't push it onto the next one because I don't think there's going to be enough time on the clock in another 7 kilometres time.
No, exactly. If you think the quickest lap is 2:22s,
yeah,
so, and that's Philip Svensson. So yeah, absolutely no way they're going to have to come in this lap or risk not making it in within the window. So I would expect a big flurry.
But with that
flurry of cars.
Very good. With that, Philip Svensson drove right past the pit lane and stays out. So I don't quite know what his game is.
And sets the fastest lap.
And another car has stayed out as well. Fastest lap is impressive, but as we've said, that car's not like any of the others. So who is this? Number 38 has stayed out. Yeah, and Morten Stromstedt, as Sarah said, was standing waiting for the car because he needed to take it over. And my big fear here, Sarah, is that the car that Morten wanted to get in has stayed out in the race, and they're going to be outside the pit stop window when they finally do come in.
Well, he's getting ready now. He's right in front of me.
You might want to ask him.
I don't want to, because he's ready to get in the car, so I don't want to ask him.
It's going to be another 2 minutes, yeah. That's the weird thing.
Is the car still out on track?
Yeah.
Morten, can I grab a really quick word? I think your car is still out on track. Is he coming? No, he said no. Car's coming.
I feel like they know they've made a mistake here. So even if they do get a good result, they're going to have to take a penalty, because the car, by the time it arrives in the pit lane, is not going to be within the pit stop window. They've got a minute to be back in the pit lane, and they've not even completed the second sector yet. So everybody else has timed it perfectly. I also don't quite know why Philip Svensson didn't come in, because as far as I know, the SR10 runs to the same pit stop window, even though it's in its own class. That car should be being handed over to Peter Gustafsson, who started the race yesterday. So here's the race leader on the road, at least, car number 9. And it may well be that this car does come into the pit lane, but he's got 30 seconds to get there. I know this SR10 is fast, but I don't think it's that rapid.
I think he may just make it if he's really lucky. He may just make it. Let's have a little watch.
Well, car number 9,
is he?
I don't think he's going to in 16 seconds. And the bigger problem is that Sebastian Schau's definitely not going to make it.
Yeah.
He got 11 seconds to get into the pit lane, and he hasn't even got to Stavlo yet. Sarah says she's spoken to the team and says, oh, we think we're okay. Well, unless they know the pit stop window has been extended for some reason. But
it says pit window closed on our timing screens, Johnny, so
there we go.
Suggest that
I mean, it sort of says it in the rules.
So yeah, they could have dropped the ball on that one, I think, potentially, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Svensson is in now.
Good. So Svensson is in.
Whether he actually got in time, I don't know. I didn't actually see when he crossed the line. But certainly it would have been marginal. Sebastian Schau's come in as well behind him. So, yeah, very, very interesting. See how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it will be investigated in the race. We'll probably then get a message from race control between now and the end of the race telling us that there will be a penalty to be served. The question is, what I can't remember is whether it's as bad as a stop-go or whether it's just time added on at the end of the race, but it may be a 30-second penalty. I'm sure that is stipulated in the regulations, which I haven't really got time to kind of delve into, and I'm trying to rack my brains as to whether anybody missed the window in Mugello. I think we did have a similar scenario. It's not a way to win the race. Yes, you get a chance to lead and you get your moment in the sun, I suppose, but it's going to come back to bite you. Marcus Littlewood, having needed to serve the longest amount of time in the pits, 80 seconds. So from pit in to pit out, he needed to be in the pit lane for 1 minute and 54 seconds. And let's hope that he was. As we go to Sebastian Schau, fresh from car number 38.
Sebastian, straight out the car. Can you tell us what was going on there between the team and hitting the pit window?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to just maximize our track positions, and yeah, unfortunately, we got hit by a lot of safety cars, and that of course meant that we had to push the pit stop forward, and hopefully it will turn out to be good.
On to better news. You're driving really well at the moment. Yesterday, incredible win.
Yeah, we got lucky by the safety car yesterday. Good strat from Rob, our engineer, and that was really solid.
Well, you've handed over to Morten. Let's see how he goes. You've done the best you can so far in this race.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, from Sebastian's viewpoint, he can only pit when the team tell him to. I'm not sure whether there's a pit-to-car radio in these cars. I'm guessing not, so it might be the conventional boards. But unless he's told to come in, he just keeps driving. It's sort of like playing to the whistle in football. And then he may be, well, he's going to be given some bad news, I fear, to say the pit stop was outside the window.
Yeah, certainly from everything that we saw, that would appear to be the case. So there's nothing that's come up on the screen. Normally, if there's something fairly obvious penalty-wise like that, then it comes up fairly quickly, doesn't it? I would expect the officials are looking at that now. It's one of the, let's be honest, it's one of the key elements of this championship is A, the pit stop window, and B, the length of the pit stop, based, as you said, and things like, for example, with Marcus Littlewood being championship leader, having an extended pit stop compared to some of his competitors. So, yeah, you would imagine that they were literally looking at it. And I've seen it before with other categories where pit stop windows are very, very rigidly enforced, and it can be down to like fractions of a second.
Oh yeah.
If you're in too early or out too late, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah. Well, I've got a direct line into Steve Burns, who is the clerk of the course for Radical Cup Europe. I've got 2 grey ticks, but I rather fancy that he's rather busy at the moment looking through the various regulations. Oh no, 2 blue ticks, and he's typing.
He's looking at it.
Yeah, he's getting back to me.
I thought we were going to get a Toto Wolff. I don't have time to read my emails. Mike.
That might get me the response from Steve.
Sorry, that was an extremely poor Toto Wolff impression.
It wasn't great, I have to say. I wouldn't have said he was in the room next to me.
By the fact that I've got a cold and I'm struggling to talk today, but there you go. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it.
Some people find that kind of gravelly voice very attractive, Simon. I'm not suggesting I do, by the way.
Yeah, but most of them are still probably in some kind of institution. I would suggest.
Yeah, fair point.
Anyway, let's talk about racing.
Peter Padden.
Now,
he's leading.
What a story this could be if this continues the way it is. He's got a 7.7 second lead over Alex Lowe, and after an incredibly frustrating start to the race yesterday, where a problem with his brakes meant that he clattered into the back of another car and was out immediately. Look at young fans enjoying the Spa experience. Hello, folks. Is that a Brawn jacket that chap was wearing? That was wonderful. He was wearing what looked like a Brawn tracksuit top, as in Brawn GP from 2009. Is that right?
That was when Jenson Button won the championship for Brawn. Indeed, Brawn GP. I have some very good news. First of all, Steve's got back to me, so he had given me the correct telephone number, first of all, because I thought he might have ghosted me entirely. And better news as well for the teams that got in very late, but the suggestion from the clerk of the course is they are okay because they are allowed to enter the pit lane after the window has closed, but they must not pass the board on track. So there is a board that comes out from where the checkered flag is waved, which tells them that the pit lane window is open. And once the pit lane window is closed, what you're not allowed to do is then cross the line, the start-finish line, and pass the board, as there's a spin there for the number 9 car, which Philip Svensson began, the SR10, and Peter Gustafsson took over. This was another one of those cars that I had thought had entered the pit lane after the window had closed, but the crucial thing is they didn't cross the control line on the track after the pit lane window had closed.
Blimey.
That is
that's a
very squirrely moment there.
Yeah, that to me, the way that the car broke, as in like it snapped sideways, it was almost like maybe a sort of a tyre had gone down, but it would appear that he's running okay. Maybe just where the tyres have got cold, and he's obviously just getting himself back to speed after taking over the car. Maybe he just got caught out, but yeah, a bit of an odd one, that one. A bit of a weird spin, wasn't it?
It was a tank slapper, as it's often called, and all the corrective steering didn't really help. The second driver into car number 9, Peter Gustafsson, having taken over from fellow Swede Philip Svensson. And is it not Peter Gustafsson who is one of the main dealers, or the dealer in Switzerland? Yeah, the official Radical dealer in Sweden, rather, because he's from Sweden. Also runs a successful Radical Cup Scandinavian Championship. So Peter, his day job is kind of making sure that these units are being sold, and if you want a Radical in the Sweden area, he's the guy to call. And his co-driver Philip Svensson is generally considered the quicker of the two. It was Philip who did the qualifying in Q2 yesterday, which set the grid for today's race. Here's Andy Lowe. This is a solo drive for Andy, so the driver change there. He needed to spend 45 seconds stationary in the pit lane, and almost a minute and 20 seconds therefore. And behind, car 77, and going a tad wide actually at Les Combes, so that might be an opportunity for Amir Faisalin behind Jahid Fazol Karim to take the place. Fazol Karim just kept the car within the confines of the track at Les Combes, but again a little wide on Bruxelles. Now he's found the apex this time though, and Amir's missed his opportunity. If he'd been closer to Fazol Karim, he might have been able to get that place. These are the cars benefiting from the shorter pit stops that they can take, so they're promoted a bit further up the order, running 4th, 5th, and now with Stevens in behind, he is in 6th.
Yeah, some good action coming out of the corner there, looking like a nice battle with Luke Breukers, just getting down the inside there of the 82 car of Sean Hanna. I don't know if that was for position. I think it might have been. Yes, I think that was for position. So good scrap there. Marcus Littlewood, the championship leader, he's come back out in 12th position after his extended stop. So really interesting to see whether he can make any progress. And I think yesterday he was in about a similar position. He was about 14th or something like that.
Yeah.
Got up to 7th, which, as you said, became 6th when there was an exclusion.
I'm trying to work out who ran off the road on the approach to Le Fagnes corner here. Might have been the Amir Faisalin car. It's certainly one of the white radicals, but I can't tell from that distance precisely who it was. Here is the Morten Stromsted car, though, being monstered by Marcus Littlewood. Littlewood is in... Has he overtaken Luke Breukers? He must have done. So, or unless Luke's got ahead of Morten as well now in the black car. So, as expected, Littlewood's going to work his way up the order. But the question is, how far up can he get with only 10.5 minutes left on the clock? Again, just like yesterday, people like Marcus Littlewood and Luke Kendall have been denied racing laps, opportunity to overtake because of one safety car and one four-course yellow. Here's the Andy Lowe number 4 car running in 2nd position for 360 competition. Chris Preen's in behind for Valor Racing, and then there's a larger gap to a recovering Jack Young, I reckon. Yeah, that's Jack who spun coming out of La Source. Well, he didn't just spin, there was some contact with Andy Lowe's car. And lo and behold, Jack Young rejoins not very far away from the very car that he had a clash with. So that could be an interesting re-overtake if Jack gets close to this number 4 car.
What, you mean payback?
Yeah. There might be more just of a kind of...
you know, certainly the incident unfolded was... It was just totally like 2 drivers tripping over each other rather than the intent. I'm absolutely certain that there wouldn't be any penalty that would be applied. It was an unfortunate contact rather than a I'm going to sort of push you out the way type deal, which obviously can happen and has happened in motorsport before. But yeah, I genuinely don't think it was intentional. It just looked like a really unfair. Because if you remember, Jack was fighting. I can't remember who the other car was. But he was fighting with another car, and then it kind of came back across, and him and Andy just sort of fell over each other, I think.
Yeah.
So disappointing and frustrating for Jack, but certainly, in my opinion, anyway, just for what it's worth, was a genuine, as they say, racing incident.
I was merely indicating there might be some sort of gesture from Jack Young as he passed him. We had an example of that from Louis Delatraz last weekend at Barcelona in the opening round of the European Le Mans Series. He was not too pleased with poor Luc Chatin's behaviour. Right. Yes,
and he wanted to be first.
He did. Yeah. With a particular finger. That's right. No, it was. And I didn't know Louis Delatraz was such a John Cleland fan, but clearly he is.
Clearly he was. And who isn't? Let's be honest. Everyone's a John Cleland fan.
Peter Paddon's over the line, 14 laps done, and he's got a 12-second lead now. This is almost like Marcus Littlewood's territory.
Great story. The GWRS RSR team and Peter coming over from Australia, one of 3 drivers that we've got racing here from down under, and have had mixed fortunes. And Peter obviously had a really tough race yesterday because a technical problem appeared to have caused the incident where he collided with another car, and off he went, and that put him out of the race. We heard him being interviewed by Sarah, and he was very philosophical, but he also said car was mega on the outlap, so it would appear whatever they had on the outlap seems to have continued rather into today's race, and the car's working exceptionally well. So it will be I think the phrase is a fairy tale, fairy tale story for Pete Paddon. Is going to get himself a win, and by the looks of it, with just under 7.5 minutes remaining of this race. So I think we're going to see maybe 3, perhaps 4 laps to the end of the race.
Just had an absolute best middle sector from Luke Kendall, so he went purple, and Kendall and Littlewood now are neck and neck. Well, there's about 4 seconds between them, up as high as 7th and 8th respectively, but I would imagine they're going to be able to catch Amir Faisalin, and therefore maybe Jahid Farzal Karim by the end as well. But we might be looking at top 5 at best now for Littlewood and for Luke Kendall, who is just ahead of him on the road. This is still the battle for 2nd and 3rd between Andy Lowe and Chris Preen. And their near rival, Lowen Stevens, might just be becoming visible in the distance because his lap times... Well, Lowen is certainly quicker than Andy's orange or white car in 2nd position. He was over a second quicker on the previous lap, and Lowen Stevens was able to get ahead of Farzal Karim during the previous lap. In fact, there is still Jack Yang in the distance in number 21, trying to unlap himself on these two cars. He's going to finish at least a lap down, though, after the off-track excursion into the La Source gravel. When does Lowen Stevens appear out of Blanchimont? There he is in the yellow and black car. So he's in fourth, but still a bit too far away from this second and third place fight, who equally off even further away from Peter Padden now. It's up to 13 seconds, the race lead.
Yeah, and again, we talked a little bit about the pace of Andy Lowe's car. Just doesn't quite seem to be working the way that he needs it to. Just looking at his last lap, it was a 2:28.1, which is almost exactly a second slower than our race leader, Peter Padden. But interestingly, a tenth quicker than the third place car of Chris Preen. But Lowen Stevens is flying. He's in the 2:25s, his personal best, 2:25.922, which was an incredibly strong lap on that last lap. So I'm just looking to see if that is the fastest lap of the race. I think it might be. Got a 2:25.2, sorry, John, 2:25.2 from Luke Kendall. I think
so, yes, and it is interesting. It's easily overlooked, actually, Luke Kendall in 7th and Marcus Littlewood in 8th. We're still enjoying the second and third place battle. Oh, there's been a big off, though, at La Source Radion, and it's Luke Breukers who is in the wall. And there is damage to the front and rear, and it looks like he's collected or hit that, unfortunately, famous tyre wall for big incidents through the years. It's been pushed back, that part, which is close to the pit lane exit route over the years, to try and just give spinning cars a bit more real estate. But you never have a small incident there if you lose the car, and we're immediately under full course yellow.
And I'll be honest, Johnny, I got a fairly strong feeling that with only 4 minutes remaining, that's quite a hefty hit.
Yeah.
They're going to obviously need to assess the damage to the tyre wall, and I'll be disappointing as it is. I think it's going to finish under a yellow this race now.
Yes, I would agree with you. So whilst we make sure we get the rescue unit to Luke as quickly as possible to check that he's okay, that's the most important thing. Let's head to Sarah. I know you were about to chat to somebody, but that was a couple of minutes ago before, unfortunately, this nasty-looking incident for Luke Breukers.
Our team with Peter Padden. Just thought we'd have a quick word. Things have changed a little bit in the last 30 seconds, but looking very positive so far, and a much better day than yesterday.
Yeah, it couldn't get much worse than yesterday, to be fair, for Peter, but at the moment looking pretty good. Obviously, still 3 minutes to go, so full course yellow doesn't really suit us, but yeah, I think it'll be all right.
And you've brought quite a bit of a team out from Australia. How important is it to be part of this series for Europe and race at a track like Spa?
Yeah, it's pretty cool for us. We're all from Radical Australia East, and yeah, 3 of our drivers come obviously to race at Spa, and then we brought 5 crew with us. So it's a big journey for the whole team to come out and enjoy Spa, and it's like a bucket list for all our drivers. And weather's been fantastic. Everyone's having a great time.
Well, thank you so much, Garth. Eyes on the race till the end. Let's hope not too much changes for you in this safety car.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
It has become a safety car, as you quite rightly say, Sarah. So initially a full course yellow. Now the safety car is running around, attempting to pick up the race leader as quickly as possible. Luke's out of the car, which is the best possible news, but with an impact as high as that. Here he is, entirely on his own, unfortunately. And I just wonder whether he caught a little bit too much curb in the base of Eau Rouge. The car was already having a moment, then up Radion, and it spears to the right. And he went in possibly forwards, first of all, then the car spins and the rear wing is removed. So, yes, damaged car, both front and back, for the guest drive for Luke Breukers. And that car will have to be recovered to the paddock, meaning, with only 2 minutes left on the clock, I entirely agree with you, Simon, that we're going to be finishing this race under a safety car.
So I guess the upshot of that is that it looks almost certain now that we're going to see a win for Peter Padden, and a thoroughly deserved win, especially after the efforts that him and the team have done to get themselves back in action today after a tough race yesterday. And yeah, what a wonderful story. 2 different winners this weekend. We've now had a mixture of winners in the 4 races we've had in the Radical Euro Cup this year, and it just highlights firstly how competitive it is, also how equal the cars are, which is obviously the whole point. There's a as a driver, I've certainly raced in one-make championships before, and you always kind of get a feeling, oh yeah, there's equal and there's equal, and you know, sometimes you feel like, oh, yeah, my car, in theory, your cars are all the same spec, but there's sometimes quite a big performance advantage in certain teams or certain engines or wherever it might be. But the one great thing with Radical, you know, it mentions, you know, very proudly that they've been the most successful brand, the volume of sales. And there's a reason for that. It's because the cars are superbly engineered. They're managed very well by a really professional team, but also, as we can see here, you turn up, you know, if you're a good driver with a good team, you've got a shot. You've got a really good shot, because also, you know, as we've discussed, the pit stop penalties really do shake things up. You know, you could easily see one or two or three drivers breaking away. In most championships, let's be honest, most championships, there's usually, you know, anywhere between 2 and maybe 5 drivers that are the real sort of standout championship contenders, and that's usually the case in a one-make series I'm talking about here.
Yes.
So whether it's this or one of the other one-make series that we see sometimes. So for it to be as varied as it is, it really is testament to how the cars are being designed, and obviously how the teams are able to maximise them, the way that the Hankook tyres work, and all of those elements. You know, a very simple but effective design to the car, and it's brilliant.
I mean, you can equalise a field in different ways. Certain championships do it with weight. Others prefer to do it with time, because these cars only weigh 600 kilos anyway, and if you start adding bits of weight in the footwell of the passenger seat, then their safety can be compromised if you're adding 75 kilos to them for doing well. That's the scar in the tyre wall of Luke Broeker's car, what it is left at the scene. So with the clock now reading 0, the safety car will lead the cars to the finish line, will stay on track. Or, well, will it allow them to race? Probably won't allow them to race to the line, because you can't overtake anyway until you get to the control line. And the other issue is that the marshalling team, the track maintenance crews, are still out at Eau Rouge Raidillon. So we need to still continue to keep the cars controlled by the safety car. But as they finish, will be the provisional race result for round 4 of the Radical Cup Europe, which will see Peter Padden take the victory after a disastrous Friday here at Spa-Francorchamps, ahead of Andrew Lowe, who did very well to fend off the threat of Chris Preen for much of his second stint. Lowe and Stevens couldn't get near them actually when we were green, but the result won't necessarily show the difference, the advantage that Lowe and Preen had over Stevens and the rest. And the other thing that it's denied is any chance for Luke Kendall and Marcus Littlewood to improve their places of 7th and 8th, which is good news for everybody else in the championship.
Exactly. I think the only thing that I would say in terms of certainly Marcus Littlewood as our championship leader is that quite a few of the drivers ahead of them are maybe only just doing this race.
True.
You know, Padden, I think, certainly, Fazal Karim, Faisalin,
yeah.
Amir Faisalin, being coached by my friend James Winslow. By the way, he messaged me, he said his first time here, raced here, he comes from a racer coming from Dubai. So as you can imagine, must be a massive culture shock in every respect coming from Dubai. What a brilliant track Dubai is. Obviously, we've, in fact, I think the last time you and I were in the Cummins box was in Dubai back in January.
Yes.
It seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? Only 4 months, but it seems a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely chuffed to bits for Peter Padden after a really frustrating race yesterday. He is going to be absolutely bouncing with that, and we'll head back to Australia with a wonderful trophy. Trophy's always great here. I mean, winning a trophy is wonderful in any championship, but you know, it's funny. I look at some of the trophies that Jake's won, for example, and some of them are spectacular, and some of them are quite underwhelming, frankly.
Okay.
I don't feel like
in comparison.
So
yes.
it's such an achievement. Winning a trophy in any motorsport is a big deal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drivers that go through their entire careers and don't really get much silverware. So when you do get it, to have, I know it's a small thing, but when you actually get a really nice trophy, it means an awful lot.
Yeah.
My colleague Gary Isles, who raced professionally in Italy in the Italian Touring Car Championship, Super Turismo as well, back in the 90s, as well as racing in the World Endurance Championship or Championship of Makes, I think it was in the late 90s. I can't remember what it was, in McLaren with Chris Goodwin. Gary tells me a funny story about when he won a race in Italy in touring cars, and they gave him effectively like a huge porcelain vase was the trophy, and the only way he could get it back was he had to buy the vase a plane seat on the way back from Italy. So he came back with this huge, great big trophy sitting next to him. He said, at least I didn't have someone annoying in the middle seat. There's a plus side to everything, isn't it?
I suppose so, yes. Yeah.
So Gary and myself working at Bespoke Handling, looking after lots of the logistics side of things here. So yeah, it's great fun working with him. We've been mates a long time. He's my best man as well. Poor bloke.
Somebody had to be, I suppose.
Somebody had to be, yeah. Me and my wife did get married in Barbados, so there wasn't.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Such a bad thing.
A bit of a sweetener for him.
Yeah.
So the race is done. The checker flag has been shown, and this is how they crossed the line behind the safety car. Peter Padden, the Aussie, coming here with two other Australian drivers, and the journey is worthwhile to win by. He would have won by something like 13 seconds, but actually the paperwork will say just 0.6 because they were all bunched up behind the safety car. Andrew Lowe second, great result for him. Chris Preen in third. Then Lowen Stevens, Jahid Fazal Karim and Amir Faisalin, who is a former champion at national level, the National Gulf Radical Cup winner last year. Then Luke Kendall and Marcus Littlewood, who should be right up there in the championship if Luke decides to do the full season. Morten Stromstead, the car shared with Sebastian Schoe, yesterday's winners, that car finishing 9th today. And Sean Hanna, great recovery drive from him, bearing in mind at the end of the first lap he pitted for some repair work. He has eventually finished in 10th place, ahead of Eddie Van Dam's Radical Nederland car, then Brian Huang and the husband and wife team of Valerie Bachmann, but latterly Pascal, Steve Champion and Jess Franson. That was a two-driver car, number 55 today. Peter Gustafsson finishing the race in number 9 in the SR10, ahead of Jack Yang, who had a big moment in the gravel. Luke Roykers, an even bigger moment at Radion. Robin Greenhall and Erland Olsen, 19th and 20th.
So an absolutely superb performance by Peter Padden. Really, really pleased for him to get the result after a very difficult day yesterday. If you didn't catch the race yesterday, unfortunately, Peter had some issues with his brakes going into turn 1 on the first lap, and was out the race immediately. So, to come back, you can see the plain carbon fibre nose,
yeah,
much as it all. I would imagine that. Look at that. That's great. Isn't it wonderful to see just how much it means to these folks that they put a heart and soul into going racing, and to get a result like that is just what you do it for, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's quite nice to have an open cockpit car with, I mean, they don't have halos or anything like that, but there's a significant roll hoop. But to be able to just see the driver at work without a windscreen, without a roof, but it's not until then you see them get out of the car that you realise how much emotion they're carrying as well. But they're far too busy, racing these cars as hard as possible around Spa, and then unfortunately sitting behind the safety car trying to keep the heat in the tyres there. But then there's this unleash of emotion with the team who've worked so hard to prepare that car and worked so hard to fix it yesterday as well, because it needed a complete replacement of the front. Thankfully, they were able to source that, not matching the rest of the livery of the car, but that doesn't matter because it all still weighs the same, feels the same, hopefully. But that's the other thing, after a big repair job like that, you don't really know what the car's going to do until you're on those rolling laps and then the first racing lap. And he was right up there in the opening stint. And then Peter had to take I don't think it was a lengthy penalty. Let's just work out how long he needed to be in the pit lane in that race. Only 45 seconds, which is the shortest amount of time that anybody, or equal shortest, that people needed to be spending there. So could take advantage of that. About half the time that someone like Marcus Littlewood needed to be in the pit lane with the minimum pit stop reference time. And then he, to a certain degree, had an open road in front of him.
Yeah, and although he wasn't the quickest driver on circuit, certainly the fastest lap was a little bit quicker. I think 2:25.006 from Marcus Littlewood is, I think, was our fastest lap. And Pete Padden, who won the race, was a 2:26.3. So, you know, over nearly 1.3 seconds slower as we watch the highlights of what started pretty spectacularly, Johnny.
It did rather. Look at the 911 white and red car trying to go through a gap that was radical sized when it began, but then the pincer movement from left to right. John McLeod left, unfortunately, in a small amount of radical bits there. Heavy damage to the nose of that car. Safety car, well, initially full course yellow, then a safety car. Then we had this off for Robin Greenhall on his own on the exit of Lefania. Great racing straight out of that, though. But this would be the next bit of carnage. Jack Young and Andy Lowe clashing with one another, leaving Jack Young in the gravel trap and needing some assistance. Oh, he got another hip and shoulder coming out of La Source. Many laps later, actually. Jack Young won't be a big fan of the exit of La Source, if you ask him. But there was a spin as well for Peter Gustafsson, and this was by far the largest accident of the day for Luke Breukers. But it was a win for Peter Padden, all the way from Australia. Victorious from Andrew Lowe in second position. Chris Preen, Lowen Stevens, these are all the championship regulars, so they've got good points in this fourth round of the season, ahead of Jahid Fazal Karim and Amir Faisalin, who will be delighted with a sixth place finish. Luke Kendall and Marcus Littlewood 7th and 8th, ahead of Sebastian Shaw and Morten Stromsted, their shared Step Motorsport car, a winner yesterday but 9th today. Sean Hanna completing the top 10. Then Eddie Van Dam and Brian Huang from Pascal Bachmann sharing with his wife Valerie. Steve Champion and Jess Franson. Jess in with Diego Dambra after Dambra's own car had mechanical dramas yesterday. Peter Gustafsson sharing that number 9 SR10, and then Jack Yang, Luke Breukers, Robin Greenhall and Erland Olsen. And finally John McLeod didn't get much further than the first corner of the opening lap. A little bit like Peter Padden yesterday. In fact, there is John's name, but with no completed laps to his name in 21st. 4 rounds done then for the Radical Cup Europe, and although Marcus Littlewood had an ideal Mugello coming to Spa-Francorchamps this weekend with a 77-point lead, much of that will have now disappeared because of some tough races. He knew he would have to be taking a little bit of nasty tasting medicine, if you like, because of the extra time needing to be served in the pit stops, but he was denied racing action to get any of that time back again because we've had a litany of full course yellows and safety cars, not only today but yesterday as well. So Spa might be one of those race weekends that Marcus wants to kind of erase from his mind as quickly as possible. However, the few points that he has picked up can be the difference between winning the championship and not.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, the other key thing, certainly in today's race, is that a lot of the drivers ahead of him are potentially not regular drivers. There's at least 3 or 4 drivers that are perhaps only doing this race weekend. So realistically, the guys that he's fighting for the championship with, you know, would have maybe not taken so much time out. As we see, Chris coming onto the podium, a very happy double podium for Chris as well. So both races third.
That's true. And again, you know, on the qualifying pace, that wasn't necessarily predictable. So you've got to be in and around the top few positions for sure. So congratulations to the top 3. And the handcaps will come off now as we pause for a national anthem. So well done to our race winner, Peter Padden, the national anthem of Australia, and Andy Lowe, Chris Preen complete the podium. And now the trophy presentations, which will, I'm sure, be prized possessions moving forward. Not quite as large as the trophy that is in offer for winning the 12 Hours of Spa that we also have this weekend, but that's going to look very, very nice on a mantelpiece or a bookshelf, particularly for Peter Padden, who gets the gold version. Yes, he does. So bright gold trophies printed and provided by Creventic, who now are the officiators of this Radical Cup Europe for 2026. And let's hope that he's got a bit of excess baggage, or maybe, you know, he could probably put that in the seat in front, under the seat in front of him, couldn't he?
Yeah,
and show it off to everybody.
Exactly. Reminds me of a fabulous story about when the England rugby team won the World Cup in Australia. And apparently after a fairly heavy night of celebrating, they then flew back the next day, and as they all went through security, and when you obviously go through the X-ray machine, every single one of them set off the X-ray machine, and then they then opened their shirts to reveal their winners' medals that they were carrying.
That's a good way of doing it.
So yeah, quite funny, that story.
Certainly a way to impress.
I think perhaps winning the World Cup in Australia.
Yeah, to rub it in.
Maybe didn't go down so well. So, well, wonderful. You know, basically these guys, all they had to do was go around and finish, and they got the win, because there was, you know, as we said earlier, literally a class of their own.
Yeah.
I
mean, Peter Gustafsson's heart may well have been in his mouth when he was having that tank slapper and then spin, because if you don't finish, then you obviously don't win the trophy. But thankfully he wiped that from his mind, got going again, and it doesn't really matter where you finish in the overall.
Exactly, and as they famously say, you can only beat what's in front of you. And,
true.
You know, at the end of the day, hopefully we might see a few more of the SR10s on the grid at some point. You know, obviously there'll be, inevitably, as there is here in Spa, there'll be certain drivers that maybe just do a one-off or do the odd race here and there, and that could potentially see us get a nice mixture of drivers coming through. But yeah, really pleased to see these guys up on the podium. You know, they obviously really love their racing, and let's be honest, racing in Radical round Spa-Francorchamps, it really is a pretty cool thing to do, isn't it? And it's a brilliant little race car, arguably one of the best, certainly in my opinion, one of the best circuits in the world.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, if you're going to race anywhere, here, and I think probably the Nürburgring, which are the two places that most people really want to race on. It's got to be part of it, and obviously Nürburgring, not the Nordschleife, but the Formula One circuit is part of the calendar.
It is for the first time.
Is it next month? No, June, beginning in June.
Beginning of Ricard's beginning of June.
Ricard beginning in June.
Nürburgring's beginning of July. Yes,
and then we round out the championship with the Barcelona 24 Hours for the 24H series, and also, obviously, the finale for Radicals.
That, by the way, was the podium for the bronze drivers. So that meant that the winning bronze driver was Andy Lowe. Well done to him. We will be back on the Creventic YouTube channel with live coverage then of the 24H series 12 hours, the Michelin 12 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. As you've already alluded to, Simon, the Radical Cup Europe moves to Paul Ricard next, the 5th of June 2026, funnily enough. But we'll be back on air in about 8 minutes' time, actually, for the full build-up for the main race this weekend. We'll see you for that.